It's really no wonder that Airbnbust became so popular. And in every low season, Airbnb has a choice to make. Either push every listing equally and disperse bookings and then turn some people off with bad listings and end up with fewer bookings and less revenue, or what they really do is promote the best listings even harder because they know that even in the slow times, the most in-demand properties will still get booked. Like, think about it. If you were Airbnb, you'd probably do the same thing. Now, in this video, I want to show you the data behind the alarming trend that everyone is calling Airbnbust, that honestly we should have seen coming. And I'm also going to show you how my portfolio performed through this lowest of low seasons and how you can combat the low season to stay ahead. And if you stick around to the end, I'll explain what I've done and the changes I'm making going forward to stay ahead of the trends and to outperform other hosts who aren't smart and they don't watch my videos. So total STR listings bottomed out in early 2021 at around 900,000 listings. And by mid-2022, it had grown to 1,374,000 listings. That's a 52.6% increase in the number of units available on the platform in under 2 years. What do you think would happen if there was a 52.6% increase in the number of homes for sale across the US? Like, the housing market would tank because there wouldn't be enough buyers, and the buyers would have the pick of the litter for the best houses and then drive the prices down. And this is exactly what happened this low season with Airbnb. But it wasn't equal across the board, because if you had a so-so listing, Airbnb couldn't promote your listing in order to stay profitable as a company. In our housing market example, what if only the best houses were shown on Zillow? Only those houses would get seen by potential buyers, and they do fine, while all the other homes and the sellers would struggle. This was the story behind the scenes of Airbnbust. And you're gonna wanna stick around to hear how it played out, because I'll show you how I was on both sides of that. So the rush that created the crash was because 2021 saw a record premium between the STR revenue and new mortgage payments, inspiring a large number of new listings to come online, and that trend continued into the first half of 2022. AirDNA's 2023 report said this trend supercharged supply by nearly 25% year over year by Q3 in 2022. So early on, low mortgage rates created more cash flow for investors, and the market got flooded with people trying to get into it. And most of these almost 400,000 new hosts had never been through a low season. 2021 was really not much of a low season because real estate was relatively affordable with the lowest interest rates ever, and ADR and occupancy were through the roof with this post-COVID travel boom. And I can say from experience, it was awesome being a host through this time. Like, I bought 4 boutique hotels in 2021 because I could see what was going on and where the Airbnb profits were heading. But it wasn't gonna last forever. Now, adoption always trails the run of the early adopters, those who got in when the getting was good. This is what I would consider myself in this scenario. Like, I started in 2019 and started scaling in 2021. Now, if you bought before 2022, this was when interest rates were low and you experienced the highest cash flow. But the biggest percentage of increases in hosts came when the market started to get turbulent. The stock market was going down and interest rates began to rise. And at the same time, home prices were rising at historical rates, over 48% in the 2 years from the end of 2020 to the end of 2022. But when adoption trails the upswing, fear and emotion lead the downswing. People that got in late with the highest purchase prices and thus the highest debt, and that didn't stand out from the competition, they really felt the pinch. And I think it was this group of people that led Airbnbust to national news and into all of our vocabularies. So there were systematic things that led to this, and it wasn't Airbnb crashing. They actually reported solid 2022 growth, even in Q4, which was the peak of the pain for most hosts. And guys, real quick, if you find this video valuable, go all Bobby Boucher and drop kick that like button. So I told you I was gonna show you how my actual Airbnb listings performed over this time. So next I'll show you the numbers and the context around them. So with my houses in Panama City, they're all houses with guest houses that create a super listing, and I've got one other just guest house because I lived in the main house and that didn't come on later, so I'm not including that one here. So in January to March of 2022, a year ago, they brought in $38,000. And in that same time period this year, they also brought in $38,000. So RevPAR is your average nightly rate, including your cleaning fees, times your occupancy. And it's a more realistic measure of your profitability. We had to fill extra days at lower rates and take riskier reservations to get the dates filled. And I think why the houses I own performed relatively well compared to the market when other hosts were bleeding, and this is comparatively because I expected them, to be a little bit better, is because my listings are the top in that area. So they rank well in search, they get a lot of views, and they have high click-through rates. Now, one of our properties in South Lake Tahoe, it's a 14-unit boutique hotel. It only saw a 1% decline in revenue year over year over that same time frame. And this was not surprising to me because Tahoe's a strong market, and we have commercial properties where local legislation took a lot of residential listings off the market at the end of 2021. So demand stayed relatively steady during the downturn. And another one of our boutique hotels in Panama City Beach in Florida, it's an 18-unit boutique hotel, and this one actually did 3% better in Q1 of this year than Q1 of last year, which was really surprising to me. However, January of 22 was the first full month after going live, and going live in the trough of the low season is tough because it's hard to get bookings and build up the listing performance. So it makes sense, why we're to establish more with driving direct bookings and email marketing and social media. And the performance with this property was, not concerning because of the year over year revenue metrics, but because the debt on the property is high interest rate and our insurance costs went up by 60% year over year, which was a $20,000 increase. So the Florida market still, took a much bigger hit comparatively over our portfolio. But I do think with these three properties or these three groups of properties that we had live at the beginning of last year through the low season to this year is very kind of telling the context and the numbers around them. And it's important to consider the reason behind the performance and try to find levers that you as a host have to improve your performance, like making your listings better and buying in the right markets. And next, we'll get into how you can stay ahead of your competition. All right, so here's what you can do to stay ahead of the other hosts in your market. First of all, you can't be a set and forget it host. You have to stand out in your design, in your amenities, and your service. And I'll tell you specifically why next, because that gets more into the details, but the key is you need to stand out from the other listings. Ask yourself a simple and powerful question. How do your listings stand out from other listings on the search page? Like your hero photo or the main photo that shows on your listing has to be a knockout. This one factor more than anything else is what attracts eyeballs to your listing. So spend more money on the design with the aim of being unique, and make sure to always get professional pictures and kind of guide them through what you're looking for to get that unique hero photo. Next is focus on your views and your click-through rate or CTR. These are the first page search impression rate and the average search to listing conversion on your Airbnb Insights tab, so you can go check those out. Now you want to make the changes to your listing that get you more views, because with more views, you'll get more bookings and obviously make more money. So these two metrics are key for you to focus on. Next is you have to market your listings. Don't count on Airbnb to market for you. Just like we saw with Bahama Breeze, our one in Florida, you want to be driving your own traffic to perform better than other hosts who aren't. And there's cheap ways to do so, like collecting guest emails and then sending them promotions and building your brand with them. And also creating social media pages for your listings and finding unique ways to get us to tag you and help build your brand for you. The biggest thing you can do, that is also the easiest and most cost effective, is email marketing. Next is just simple, be consistent and also aggressive with your revenue management. Like, you have to be in there every day and really know your rates. And to be effective at it, especially in the low season, you need to find what the lowest you're willing to go is, and that's going to depend on your market and the season, and then incrementally lower to that amount. And use a pricing tool, like we use PriceLab. And what I mean by getting to that lower amount is once inside 2 weeks, the closer an unbooked date gets, the lower the price should go. Also, price in the events and the holidays and capture the highest rates during those times so that you can then really maximize by dropping rates when it's called for. All right, next is to buy in the best locations in the best market for your goals. A lot of markets work, so choose one that fits what you want to do. Now, within that market, you have to be in the best location. It's part of standing out. If you're in Nashville, you need to be within walking distance Broadway where all the honky tonks are. And if you're in a ski town, you need to be walking distance to the village or the ski lifts. Like, people will pay to stay in the best location. And when the hosts out on the fringe struggle, your place will still get the demand and get the best guests, assuming you bought a good property, designed it well, and have great photos and well-performing listing, like all the stuff we talked about. So once you have that, you have to do the other things like we talked about above. But this one thing is the thing that your competition cannot be. They can't outlocation you if you are on the X. X marks the spot. All right, so I hope you can see Airbnbust was real. It wasn't a COVID-like conspiracy, but some hosts felt it and others not so much. But we all felt our RevPAR slip and the pain it was near the end of the year and the beginning of this year to get bookings. Like, I can say for certainty that the hosts I know that didn't get squeezed as much were also the best hosts I know with the best listings on the platform and knowledge of how to appeal to and market to their guests. They all treat it like a business, and you should too going forward. It's only going to get more competitive, and if you aren't building your skills as a host now, you're gonna have to it'll save you some trouble in the future. But if you stick around my channel, I'll make sure you guys stay ahead of the curve. And before you go, please like this video. It's kind of like a tip in the jar. So hats off to those of you that do, and I'll see you on the next one.